Furniture is something we see, use, touch every single day. Turning it into a business, even with like a decent design foundation, is pretty challenging. It is nice to build up clients who appreciate and want custom furniture. The custom stuff, the income is pretty appealing.
Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the #1 podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. This is your host, Steve. Today's guest is Sam Hunt from Cordova Woodworking. How you doing, Sam?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Sam, could you tell everybody what's the origin story? How'd you get started in this business?
So I started the business in early 2020, and there's a bit of build up to it. I used to own and operate a online advertising business, and that was kind of fizzling down. I didn't want to stay in that industry, so for quite a while I was looking for something I wanted to do. Woodworking was a hobby, so that was kind of always in the back of my mind, but I went to design school, did 2 programs, to learn kind of more hard design skills like sketching and drafting, not necessarily more on the theory side. And then from there, I was pretty eager to jump into something, so I got myself a studio at a shared wood shop in Vancouver and started making some of my own designs and doing some custom work. And it started, early 2020.
Yeah. And then so after that, then you started to actually seek to invest in learning the skill and craft of woodworking and furniture design.
Yeah, I didn't from the beginning. Like I said, the furniture was a hobby in the past, so over the years, so it was of interest to me, but what I specifically went to school for was industrial design. So for those if anyone doesn't know what that is who's listening, that's essentially product design. But then the more you get into it, you kind of find out it's really more about designing for mass production, which wasn't terribly interesting to me. But nonetheless, I still felt I had some pretty solid design skills, and I was ready to put that into practice for furniture making. I mean, I was maybe a bit naive at the beginning, thinking it would be fairly straightforward. I mean, furniture is something we see, use, touch every single day, so it's something we're all pretty familiar with, but turning it into a business, even with a decent design foundation, is pretty challenging. You
started in 2020. What was that first year like in your business?
Well, I mean, I didn't really have a professional background in woodworking. I mean, I've always been pretty meticulous, and I knew how to use the tools and stuff. So I invested in some good tools, and I tried to do kind of small batch stuff for smaller pieces, mostly for e-commerce. So, stuff I could make and sell at kind of a premium. I mean, enough that it was worth my time. I can't sell a $80 stool or something like that. So it was a lot of smaller pieces, and then a little bit of custom here and there. For people, it's all my Instagram, or I do some kind of shows and they say, can you make me this? So that was also the first couple of years we're looking like that.
As I look at your stuff, and it looks like you've developed a style. How did you develop your sense of style and your aesthetic? Right
now, I'm starting to get more comfortable with my voice as a designer. I think I tried I forced things a little hard at the beginning, but minimal and modern design is just always something that's been generally pretty appealing to me. But I think as it develops, you find that it's quite challenging if you want to make something, that's sellable, that is minimal, that you can sell for a pretty high price, but also something you can make at a reasonable speed. Minimal design is challenging. We can't we don't have the luxury of like hiding any details. Everything's kind of out there in the open, and that's what I feel like makes minimal furniture special.
So what is the main core product that you sell the most of these days?
Well, I mean, I moved from the shared wood shop and back to my hometown in the interior of BC, and I got my own space. So, I mean, overhead's a little different, and I've been a little more committed to the custom work lately. It is nice to build up clients who appreciate and want custom furniture. So that has been my focus. On the product side, when I say product, I mean like, more like catalog items. It's been like a lot of small stools and side tables, little coffee tables. I've sold a ton of. I have like a pretty unique plant stand design, and that's pretty e-commerce friendly, pretty repeatable. But honestly, like it is interesting you have me on this podcast because I'm in my head a lot, like which avenue I should go. Like the custom stuff's good. I enjoy it. It's pretty challenging to come out on top, even at the prices that need to be charged, especially when you're doing solid hardwood furniture like me. I don't really make anything out of composites or plywood. And then the products are like kind of repeatable products. Batching out like small batch production is generally pretty appealing to me. I like how you can be quite calculated about it, and your efficiencies like constantly improve. And the idea of being able to hire someone on who's doesn't necessarily have the skills or the custom experience that I do. And then the third thing is, I don't know if you noticed on my website, but I sell courses and plans.
Courses. I did notice that. Yeah, I did notice that. So,
I mean, there's like we said earlier, like there is that kind of entrepreneurial side to me. There's like the craftsman and the craftsperson and the entrepreneur, and they're kind of battling each other out, I feel, at the moment. Like the custom, I think over the long run, like I'm a baby designer in all this at the beginning. I've been doing it for, I stand behind my product. Like I think they're pretty outstanding when they come out the door, showroom ready, whatever. But at the end of the day, like it's 2020, it's 2023. It's not like I've been doing this a lifetime. So I think long term, I see like the custom, I can, once, I don't think I'll be the best furniture designer in the world, but I think I can be pretty damn good if I stick with it. And I can start to have premium pricing coming out of that. That's you got to be pretty dedicated, I think, to get all the way down there. There's that. That's like the craftsman kind of artist route. And, I think there's other money in it just than me making it myself and designing. Yeah. No, I see what you mean. Let me ask you this, where for your custom stuff and the smaller products, like, are you shipping all over North America or is it more local? Yeah, North America. So I have I'm batching out some stuff as we speak. But I kind of have slowed that down. It's like I'm getting pulled between the products, the custom, and the plans. And like with the one-man band, you do need to go all in one way. What's your main funnel? Is it like from your social media? Are you doing paid ads, or is it search engine, Etsy? Or so website, straight through like Instagram and TikTok, I suppose. And then I've taken them down because I wanted just to have the plans on my Etsy account. Yeah. But Etsy's like, I don't really like Etsy, but I mean, I do and I don't. 10% fee kind of sucks. But people are there. People are on Etsy to buy. So it's generally a pretty low overhead sale. Like they just see a product, they see a review, they buy it. They like being on there. There's the trust in the platform. So that's generally pretty good, but the price has to be that much higher.
And in terms of being able to build up, like if you were to rank which ones that you'd want to focus more on, what would you think?
Yeah, that might be with the conversation we have after.
Yeah.
Man, I think about it every day. Like, the custom stuff is like, pretty rewarding. It's pretty incredible to make some really challenging, beautiful pieces. Your skills just grow exponentially. And it's a grind though. Like, it's tough. You got to be kind of all in and say, like, I'm going to be in the red for quite a while before this really starts to take off. And that's okay. That's just something you kind of have to. I mean, other people might have had different experiences, but I do think that's fairly common in the custom kind of higher end furniture game. Yeah. So I'll give you like a subjective answer.
Sure.
Like products, I love designing products. I love, figuring out ways to make them faster, more economical. And I love seeing what customers want, and it's really cool to batch out a bunch of stuff. That feeling of productivity is great. I have machines for automation, so I have a small CNC. I have a Panther router. I wouldn't say that's really automation, but it can speed things up for certain designs that can be sold for a bit more. I have a duplicator lathe, so I feel like I have a pretty good platform to execute on.
The bones.
Yeah, I definitely have the bones, and I have, I have done the small batch stuff, so I know how to do it. It's just like, it's got to be a little bigger and a little more robust. And then as far as like a business that, let's talk about a business that could be sold in the future. Like the plans are obviously that, you develop a catalog, you get traffic, you create a funnel, maybe you've got a pretty strong newsletter, maybe a bit of a community, and it's a pretty attractive thing. If someone comes along, they're like, oh, I know how to put a ton of Facebook ads behind this, like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I am it's like, which one? I mean, I did just have a kid, like, I had a boy, my wife and I had a boy, like 9 weeks ago. So,
oh, congrats!
Thank you.
That's you are in it right now.
I'm in it. So like the custom stuff, like the income is pretty appealing at this point, the cash flow, but at the same time, it's like, okay, what this looks like you probably want to be. If you want it to look different, you're gonna have to choose one of the other two avenues. But it might not work out. Sure. So it's and
I notice you have a pretty large social following. How much effort does that take? I mean, in order to continue to put out content that generates the level of traffic. I mean,
yeah.
You did online advertising. You have a design background, so you kind of have like a little bit of an edge. I mean, you're speaking the language of a marketer. Funnel, newsletters. That's a lot of stuff that a lot of furniture makers and woodworkers don't necessarily say. But like, talk about your social strategy.
The whole social media thing was a bit of a fluke, to tell you the truth. I was doing this, like, making stories for my followers. I had like 2,000 followers, like 1,000 or 2,000. It was like pandemic. I was making stories, and TikTok came along, and my wife like kind of found some interest in it, and she started doing it as a hobby. She's like, oh, can you send me those videos? And she started tacking together like TikToks, and like we had like 20,000 followers like pretty quick. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then kind of just like kept hammering that, like, I'm like, it's working, it's not really bringing a ton of revenue. And then Instagram started to try to compete with TikTok, and they were just like shoving reels down people's throats, and we were just kind of right place, right time. So but yeah, to answer your question, that's kind of the origin of the growth on the social media. I'm lucky. My wife's like really supportive, and she just enjoys doing it. So we kind of have figured out like what works, and she's kind of always on top of like the current trends, like what video format works. So I just give it to her.
And the sounds probably.
Yeah, exactly. The sounds. And I'll kind of just hand it off to her. And when she has, I can tell she's like, it's like a creative moment for her. And it's a nice thing to kind of unwind and get that outlet, but it is work. And
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've started to do more like kind of daily, like little stories are easier. Like with the new kid, we don't have time for as much, but we're figuring that out.
Cool.
Yeah. So
all right, well, let's dive in. What question do you have about that I can help you with?
I mean, pretty like high level. Like I've told you the different kind of avenues my business is, the different buckets my business is in, and it's like, I don't know, I just brass tacks, what do you think is the most interesting? What do you think about the plans? Do you think that's like,
I think the plans, well, here's the thing. So there are lots of people selling plans, but it's really based off of the community that they build, and it's really brand heavy, right? So it's like you show up, you got to do the plans, that sort of stuff. I do like the idea of woodworking plans based off of your aesthetic, and a whole catalog based off of them, right? Because there's like that whole Ted's woodworking guide. You've seen those, right? The 16,000 plans.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those? Yeah. Those like infomercial type things, right? And so, what you could do, a step beyond that is you could build a whole business where you have the plans, you have a whole catalog, and then you start building a following. People start sharing their stuff, and if people want, a more in-depth, like you could charge $3,000 to spend a couple days with you in your space. Sure. You know what I mean? So that could be its own business right there. I do like the simple, repeatable products a lot. And custom is custom, so like custom, you can charge a lot more. But I guess my question to you is, what do you want? Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like when you think, you just got a kid, right? Do you see yourself adding more people to your team? Like, what do you want?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, the thing about products is like, I think from the outside, when you see like the professional photography of like, so making product, sorry, I'll put it this way, designing a product that you can make quickly and, its perceived value is high is really challenging. Like you're basically trying to make something simple that's also original, and furniture has been around forever, and getting away with that is like almost lucky sometimes.
It's like trying to it's like trying to make a viral video.
Yeah, kind of. I think there's things you can do to make that easier. Like, I mean, you have to invest in like professional photography for sure. There's no question. So you need to make your photos like as good as the product, and then you can, I don't think you need to go so deep into it because it's not so clear what to do, but like decent branding, there needs to be some appeal there. But I mean, I think like if I'm honest with myself, like that's what it's like most appealing is the products. But it's probably of the three, like the hardest, I think, to do.
Yeah.
Just because like, it's like, I've thought about this from so many angles. And where I'm at right now is, okay, I've got like a specific aesthetic or genre of furniture. So I'm already niche, right? And then on top of that, my products are not inexpensive, right? And the prices I'd like to get them at are even higher, obviously. And once you kind of get there, you know, your products are in front of pretty wealthy people, and now these people can afford. They have access to interior designers that are going to point them in the direction of, you know, a pretty high-end furniture store. So you're like, their choices are, you know, it's like you have this like niche, and then your wealthy people that are like, they have access to whatever they want. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, considering that, and so like I kind of like to say is like, what do you like to do? What can your market bear? And what do you have the capacity to invest in? And I think based off of where you're at, I think you don't actually make a decision. I think you lean more on the custom stuff, because the custom stuff will give you the margin and the price point that you can to start stacking some money, and then reinvest in making the products that you can bring on the people that could build those things, and then out of that you know, once a quarter release like a couple of new plans, you know what I mean? That I think that's the thing that kind of that I'm sensing, because like I always tell people, like, go high end, 5 to 10K minimum on what your product is, and just like, because at that point then you're like, you know, you take four or five tables, 4 or 5 bigger things, you have like a 25, 30K, you know, up to 50K a month business based off of what you're building. You see what I'm saying? It's like, if you're able to build something that can last, it'll give you the margin to reinvest in other parts of your business. But if you're starting small, you need a lot of those little things in order to make that big hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so unless you have the money to invest, I mean, because like, you could go out and spend a lot of money to like build your brand, and sell a lot of $30 plans, or sell a lot of $80 stools or what have you. But I think I'd rather you spend your time making, you know, a 5 to 10K table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, the bigger.
I think that's the best. That's the best use of your time, given the moment.
Yeah. No, I understand. I mean, yeah, and I like doing. I feel like the plans, like I don't really feel like I can sell plans that are of my products. It's like a bit of brand dilution, and I'm not really interested in doing that. There's a tiny bit. I think there's one item on my website that I have a plan for, but anyways, the idea of like the plans and the custom is like the content will drive traffic and interest to my plans. It's kind of like these words we were saying earlier, like a funnel. That's like the top of it. So it's like, wow, this is like pretty inspiring, seeing you make these like beautiful, larger, complicated pieces. I'd one day like to do that. It's kind of aspirational. And then you go to the website, oh, like I can do that. So that was the kind of the thinking, but like I don't want to throw in too many buts. It's just what I'm finding right now is, you know, custom takes time. The plans do as well. Like the plans I make or the courses I make, I don't slap them together. Like there's instruction, there's detailed. I think about like what tools woodworkers have, and I try to make plans flexible for different skill levels or what they might have. So for example, like in the joinery, I do dominoes, tenons, and dowels. And my point being is the plans take quite a bit of time to develop. Like it's pretty much a solid week of me drafting everything online, a week and maybe a day. And then the design and build of depending on how complicated of it could be, is another week or two. So it's like, I might have had a bit of a pipe dream there, but I mean, it's something I can chip away at, I suppose. Like it could be a gap filler, so to speak. Like I'm doing the custom.
I think the only thing that I foresee is the content that you create kind of needs to be towards a specific type of person.
Okay.
And that's something to consider. It's like, do you want your feed to be a bunch of woodworkers, or do you want them to be a bunch of potential buyers?
Yeah.
And so that's just something to consider, because it's kind of like they are different audiences and different, right? And so, but just something to think about. I mean, my inclination would always go big, right? Go sell the biggest product first, because you don't need a lot of them to have a good business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So tell everybody where they can find you, your website and your Instagram.
I'm at Cordova Woodworking, Cordova. You guys all know how to spell woodworking. And awesome. Website's cordovawoodworking.com.
Awesome. Sam, thank you so much for your time. And congrats on the new baby. That's very exciting.